question. Has anyone read the Down Girl, The Logic of Misogyny?
No.
How they reference, because they reference something called the human giver syndrome. I thought that was funny. I just found it interesting.
Human givers and human beings.
Yeah.
And just how oftentimes if you identify as a giver, like if you identify as being like you're the one that offers help, and how challenging it is for you to accept help or ask for it.
Well, maybe that's why you guys are really into this too, because you guys are very givers. I wouldn't consider myself a giver. So maybe
which is
that's
ironic
why.
because you give so much to the podcast.
Yeah, I give things, but I only give them because I choose to and I want to. I never feel like I have to. I only am in this because I want to be here. I only do this because I want to help. I can't imagine. I can't even think of a time in which help. I never feel obligated to give to people or help people. I only do it because I love you and I choose to do it for you. So I think that's the difference. So maybe that's
just a very well-developed sense of boundaries is what you got on there, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Seems very healthy. And I think that's really
that's
good.
Like that's the goal. That's the dream right there. That's the gold standard.
And there's no
I feel sometimes a little cold-hearted because it's like, sometimes I'm like, no.
I always think of it this way. When I meet people that have that really well sense of, to bring it back to the patriarchy, it's completely normal in the other half of the sex. Just like just a better sense of personal, now I'm talking big generalizations here, but it comes across as cold. Also, you could say it comes across, I think, energetically a little male. And I don't think that in a bad way. Like that's what I strive for. I strive to have that good sense of boundaries and
Yeah, but then you don't feel as much. Like, you guys feel so much of like, don't you get that satisfaction? You probably get more satisfaction from giving as well. Whereas, no,
I don't know. I think it's more. I think that's personal, probably.
Yeah, I love
creating need.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes there's things that have to be done, and somebody's got to do it. And if nobody does it, somebody's got to do it. So if everybody just goes, not me. And if it has to get done, it has to get done. I don't know.
Yeah, I do it. I don't know. I would do it, maybe. I don't know. Had to get done.
I think that talking what Leah said, it was interesting that you say that it's more masculine or male, because my husband is the one that helps me create boundaries with people outside of our relationship, because I'll bounce it off him and be like, so now I don't immediately react to immediately give.
Yeah.
I sometimes talk it over with him. I'm like, so this is happening and I might want to do that, but I'm not sure. And then I talk it through, because sometimes he'll be like, yeah, if you want to do it, you should do it, or other times he's like, no, that's way too much. No.
Yeah.
They're using you. No, that's too much. No. Or I would never do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that makes me, sometimes it's like a little test. If I test it on him, some things he would never do. And I'm like, no, I want to do it. I'm doing it. I don't care. Or I really love them, so I don't care. But there's other situations where I'm unsure. And I think being married to my husband has made it easier for me to create boundaries, because I've learned from him, because he has very strict boundaries. They're not blurred at all. And I don't have that. Mine are very blurred. So now that we've been married for so long, now I'm better with boundaries with people, instead of just like giving everything to as soon as I meet them. And, yeah.
But that's such a nice quality.
But I like giving. I get something from giving. It's just that I feel sad if I realize it's not
reciprocated.
But I wonder if they don't really care about me. Do you get something? Getting something from giving, or are you getting something from being needed?
No, giving. I think for me, it's giving is nice. I don't need anything. Usually don't need anything back. If I give something, it's because I'm giving it. It's when I feel I
don't mean like in a reciprocal way, like because what you're getting back is they can rely on you, a sense of self-worth, because they're like, oh, you're so useful, you're so good. You're so needed, like you're creating almost like I'm projecting here. I'm just spitballing this because I think that's what I do is like I overgive, and I burn myself out but it's completely because I created it because I wanted them to be dependent upon me. And then I feel burnt out. And then I've decided I'm done with them because they burn me out. That would be like the worst case scenario.
Right.
I'll watch out for that, Leah.
I don't
think you have anything to worry. She has a sister who's a taker and Leah's the giver. Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I think I like to give. Like certain giving makes me feel good, right? I'm not good with boundaries, but also if somebody's going to react very poorly and it's going to be more emotionally draining to say no, I'll just say yes because I only have so much energy to manage. And so if somebody makes it way, way harder to say no, then maybe I'll just say yes.
Totally.
From a safety perspective, like an emotional safety perspective.
Yeah.
So there are some people that it's like really, really hard to maintain a boundary with because you're like, okay, we're going to put up a boundary now and it begins, right? So it's not just like, here's the boundary. It's like, here's the boundary, here's the boundary, here's the boundary, here's the boundary. And
yeah, and
how long can I sustain that and keep the boundary? How many times can I set this boundary a different way before they stop trying to break it down? So it depends, right? So sometimes I'll just be like, I don't have the energy for that. It'd just be easier to do it.
They know you're going to break. So it's like, they're just pushing you until you break.
Well, I think it's like, choose your battles, right?
So that's fair.
That's another thing, because I'm a conflict avoider. So sometimes I'll do the same.
I was just going to
say yes, just to avoid the conflict. But then that's why it's good that I bounce it off my husband, because there's a hierarchy for my conflict avoiding. And I never want to be in a fight with my husband. Ever. Like that's the top. That's the one I'm most anxious about being in a fight with him. Not that we fight very often, but I hate that. Like that makes me, because my home is like my sanctuary and he's my calm, right? So the fight at home makes me the most anxious. So if he's like, that's too much, you shouldn't do that, I would rather get in a fight with that person outside than my husband be like, well, now you're doing it and now there's consequences and for doing the thing he said that would go wrong. So maybe you need someone that'll help you. Well, maybe not, but I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. If once I said it, like I don't want to back down. So I won't. So it's like, that's the thing. It's like, how long can you set a boundary and keep it? How many years can you keep saying this is the boundary over and over? Right? Like, it's just, it adds it up depending on how many, how many persistent you have to like
Sorry,
choose.
Mayor. I admit it. It's me now.
I know. She does.
I know.
She's a smart one. She keeps testing. She's like, I'll come in from this angle this time.
I get it. All right. I get the point. No.
I have become better with boundaries over the years, but I do like saying yes to some things. I'm very optimistic. Like, can you do that? Yes, I can. But I don't think about like, do I have the time to do this? Like, I can do anything. That was like,
I absolutely get
my mom would be
that.
like, you can do anything you put your mind to. It's like, yeah, but there's like limits to how much you can physically do.
Oh, I'm the total opposite. I hardly commit to anything. Like I generally am like, okay, maybe I'll see you. Maybe I'll do whatever. Okay, I'll try, but I can't guarantee that I can do that. Like generally. So I feel like I never say yes, rarely say yes to things, even plans. It's really hard for both Laird and I, but all of us to be like, okay, we're trying to make a plan with you. Okay, I will try to be there. And most likely I'm there, but I don't like to commit because then I feel bad about not doing it. So
so you never cancel.
I feel like I could learn so much from you, Shui.
No.
So like in your wording, you even say the words try. So you're even very clear.
It's not good for anybody in my life because they all hate it beyond belief because they're like, well, just tell me you're going to be there or not. Tell me you can do it or you can't. And I'm like, well, I think I can do it, but I just need to make sure that I have time and that I can figure it out and put it there and do whatever. So it's not a good trait. Do not learn from me, I tell you.
Well, that's how I was going to say it. That's how I know that you love me because whenever I come to visit, you're like, we're setting a plan and you make the plan with me. And I'm like,
yeah.
She's committed.
I do for you guys. Like I'll do it for like if I don't see you, like I try my best to do it. It's hard for me, really hard.
Yeah. My husband's his first response to something is always no. And my first response to something's always yes.
Hey, that's us too. That's us too.
Yeah. I have trouble between the conceptual yes and then the actual like, theory versus practice, like in my mind, and it is around time. Is that I'll be like, yes, of course, I love that. But then it's like, that is in a different area of the brain from the reality. Like, this is what your day-to-day looks like. So I should almost engage habits around, like, I got to delay the yes so that I can come down to earth, actually look at how it would play out, and then I can get back to people.
Why you say, I'd love to look into that. I'm not going to have time. So you can kind of say yes. Yes, I will look into it. I would love to look
into that. Okay.
I don't
really
cancel.
I'm gonna see if I can. Yeah.
It's very important for me to like do what I say I'm going to do, and I'm never late. I'm never late. I cannot be late. It's like just a thing for me, and I will show up. I'd rather be 5 minutes early than 5 minutes late.
Oh man, I am late for life.
But I like to arrive 2 minutes early or somewhere like right on time. I don't want to be early. I don't want to be late. So I come a little bit early, wait a little bit, right on time. Boom.
But how do you do it? Like, to me, I was like, there is now time and there's future time. Those are the only two times that exist. And if it's in the future, it's like, la, la, la. And then if it's now time, I was like, oh shit, I got to be there like now.
I have a very good idea of how long it takes me to do things. Like my whole, like in high school, it took me 11 minutes from leaving my house to my locker with my books on the way to classroom, 11 minutes. And I knew it. I knew how long it took me to shower, everything. Woke up the exact time I needed to, and like walked into my classroom as the bell went off. Like, I just know because I can't be late. It's just, I won't be late. I tell my kids, I'm like, I will not be late. If we're late, then like, we're not going. We will not be late. It's so rude to be late. You're showing people that you don't care about their time more than your time.
How do you feel about when Kara and I are always late?
No, I don't feel offended by that. I know you guys are late.
Okay.
But if I have people who are always late, we'll just tell them the wrong time.
That's what Leah does.
But I don't want anybody to do that to me, because if anybody ever did that to me, I would feel ashamed. But I'm not saying you guys should feel ashamed. I would personally feel ashamed if somebody lied to me about the time.
Oh, no, lie to me about the time all the time. Please tell me.
Yeah.
Lie for sure, and I'll be there on time.
But the people that I care about who are always late, I know they're late. So I just plan around it. Some people are just like notoriously really, really, really late.
I've heard stories.
I won't be that person.
Yeah, I heard, who was it? I think one of Bob's cousins was telling a story about her best friend is perpetually 3 hours. I was like, no, like that doesn't even count as late. That's like in a whole other like category of late. How would you ever make plans with someone who's perpetually 2 to 3 hours late?
In Senegal, people are consistently an hour to 2 hours. I'm usually on time or 15 minutes late. That's where I live. Right on time or 15 minutes late. But in Senegal, I'm always the first one there, every single time. Like sometimes I'm rushing into the house because I'm leaving the house when I'm just arrived somewhere. And I'm like, oh yeah, right. No one else is there yet, just me. And I'm always the first. Wow. Which is kind of nice. It takes the pressure off. Everyone just strolls in when they get there.
Yeah.
But it's nice for someone that's 15 minutes late usually. I feel really
That's a
great
grace period. Yeah. You're like, look at me. Nailed it again.
5 minutes before everyone else. Yeah. Woohoo!
Invite me to something else. I'll do it again.
But I'm like Meredith in the sense of when I commit to something, I always do it. If I think I'm going to do something, I always do it unless there's some sort of extreme circumstance.
Crisis.
You guys are great with integrity that way. Mine's like negotiable. It's negotiable.
Book interrupted.
So my interruption is no Wi-Fi, no internet. There was a thunderstorm right after we recorded, and luckily it waited until after we recorded, and it took out our Wi-Fi box. Like, it just doesn't work anymore. And I thought, that happens, right? But when we called the company to come fix it, they said it wasn't just us, it was a bunch of people. So it would take 48 hours for them to come to give us a new box. So yeah, I've been doing some hot spotting to do work, but you don't really realize how much you use the internet until you don't have it.
Book interrupted.
So in the many reviews I read, they talked about the TLDR.
Oh,
Too long.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Kara, considering you've read the book, do you recommend reading that bit of the book? Like, because it's a little bit of a summary, right? Because one girl said just read those bits and you don't have to read the whole book.
I did audiobook and I don't recall that part. It sounds like it's like almost a Cole's notes.
Yeah, like it has a little summary at the end of each chapter.
Oh, what a nice feature. So
then it says, like a little quick, like 4 points or whatever at the end of each chapter saying, this is what we talked about.
Oh.
This summarizes the chapter.
Whoa. It's a summary at the end of each chapter, and they use that acronym because I guess that acronym is used on social media if someone put a post that's too long, which I didn't know. Did you guys know that? I didn't know that.
No, I just don't read it.
Yeah, if it's too long, I was like, skip.
Meh.
But it makes sense in our world in which everything has to be like bite-sized and quick that people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of rude though. If someone wrote that to me, like,
just don't read it. You don't
just don't read it. You don't need to make the time to be like, what you said was too long. I didn't read it. Like, I don't care.
Reading it.
Yeah, like it seems like it's I think it's intended to be rude. Like when someone's trying to like rebuttal, you're saying like, too long, didn't read, not listening.
Yeah.
La 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 la. Can't hear you.
Yeah, it does kind of sound like a shut up statement, essentially. Yeah. But within the book, it sounds like it's a kind of a nice feature to be able to be
summary,
like, I just want to jump to the summary on this one.
Or like, here, I read all this stuff, but I didn't read it straight through. Okay, now I remember and can It'll be good for our final episode when we need to remember what was in
we
the
could
book.
just flip through and be like, oh no, it's in chapter 5, guys.
Yeah.
Or you could like just recap before you meet with us. Be like, what was this book about? Oh yeah. Great.
I do like that there are a lot of notes too. Like there are obviously a ton of references they've referenced, like pages and pages and pages, which is kind of nice to see that it was well researched, which I like.
Yeah.
See, I'm finding things I like already.
See? Slowly coming around.
Is good.
I also like that they put it in a story. Like if you go to the first, like I started the first chapter and they said they were going to do that. And they made it like a little story at the beginning. Like this one is about Julie. Julie is a teacher, a public school teacher, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, I like that they make a little story and then they start doing whatever. Because I don't know if Julie is going to be throughout the whole book, but it'd be nice if there was a character. So
she is, the characters that they introduce, I think it's 3 different ones. They carry them through the entire book. And I appreciate that as well. They did that also, a different author, the Conscious Leadership Group, put together a book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And they led every chapter with like a story so that it became more real to you. Like these aren't just like ideas of make sure you're up at 5:15 every morning and you get in your run. If that's the recommendation, then the lead story to the chapter is giving an example of an individual who has incorporated that and what problems it solves and what benefits they get out of doing it in a not sort of tell it to you, shove it down your throat sort of like a way.
That was like Leah's book too, right? The Oprah one, whatever it was called. That's what they did. They had like little stories, right?
Oh, yeah, they did.
And then they said the message. But Leah, what was your book?
What happened
to you? Right?
Yeah.
The one everybody loved.
Oh yeah.
The only one I never finished.
Oh my God. I became so attached to the one character, Jessie, that was carried through that book. Yeah.
See? So similar idea.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Never forget, every child matters.